Set in a bustling marketplace in Korea, where criminal gangs and violence reign unchecked, the ordinary people have no one to turn to for protection. Enter a determined officer, ready to restore order. The story begins in the lively Garabong district's Chinatown. The streets are busy with workers and vibrant activity when suddenly a fight erupts between two men. The brawl escalates quickly as one grabs a knife from a nearby shop, aiming it at his rival. Not to be outdone, the other man brandishes a knife of his own. Meanwhile, the local authorities stand idly by, seemingly unwilling to intervene. That's when the protagonist steps in. This hero disarms one of the fighters with ease, nearly immobilizing him in the process. The other combatant, realizing the futility of resistance, backs down immediately. Only then do the officers on duty step in to handle the situation. The crowd erupts in applause for Officer Seok-do, their protector. For this retelling, let's call him Pooky, portrayed by Don Lee, a charismatic figure you'd trust to keep you safe, even if he sported a playful accessory. Pooky heads to a pool hall to investigate a serious crime. A man has been gravely injured in a violent attack. As Pooky arrives, his junior officer approaches and teases him about a blind date. But Pooky, focused and unwavering, redirects his attention to the case. Upon noticing a distinctive tattoo on the injured man, Pooky immediately identifies it as a mark of the notorious Venom gang. The scene shifts to a dimly lit alley, where a nervous gangster approaches the leader of the Venom gang, Tae. He suggests retaliating against a rival group in response to a recent conflict. Tae agrees, and the gang quickly assembles to prepare for their next move. As they open a door, they are met with an unexpected surprise. Standing on the other side is Pooky, accompanied by his team of officers, there to investigate the incident. The gangsters stop in their tracks, surprised by the presence of the imposing officer. Maintaining his calm demeanor, Pooky firmly instructs them to cooperate. One of the gang members, however, appears defiant and smirks at Pooky. Bad idea. A flying slap from Pooky sends the guy crashing to the ground like a rag doll. Before things escalate further, the gang's right-hand man steps in, apologizes to the cops, and orders his men to retreat. As the situation begins to de-escalate, the gang leader, Tae, aka makes his entrance. Pooky directs his attention toward him, questioning him about the incident. Tae's lieutenant explains that the conflict was connected to a rival gang called ASHUTOSH. Armed with this new information, Pooky and his team proceed to a gambling arcade to track down a suspect. Upon arrival, they are met with resistance, but handle the situation efficiently. Pooky demonstrates his focus and skill as he navigates the scene and closes in on their target, who attempts to flee. When the suspect attempts to resist, Pooky calmly handles the situation. The officers secure the evidence and bring the suspect in for questioning. Meanwhile, we're introduced to Chang, a notorious gangster with a fearsome reputation for his aggressive methods of collecting debts. Let's just call him Chang. Arriving in his car with two of his cronies, let's nickname them Scum 1 and Scum 2, Chang confronts a frightened debtor who had promised to repay his dues at this location. The debtor pleads desperately, insisting his boss will settle the amount, but unsurprisingly, the boss is nowhere to be found. Chang, known for his ruthless sense of negotiation, sarcastically offers the man a discount, but only at a high personal cost. Before the man can fully process the horror of the offer, Scum 2 picks up a sledgehammer and takes a swing at his hand, smashing it into a pulp. As night falls, a gang leader and his crew arrive at the scene. The leader is none other than Venom coldly evaluates the situation, questioning Chang about the debt. Chang, calm yet firm, states the amount owed is 200 calors. The debtor, visibly distressed, argues that the charges are bloated with excessive interest. In a bold move, he spits on the loan papers and wipes them on Chang's clothes. That's when things take a dark turn. Enraged, Chang pulls out a knife and fatally strikes Venom multiple times, ending his life instantly. Venom's gang members, paralyzed by fear and shock, stand motionless, too intimidated to react. To solidify his dominance, Chang eliminates the debtor as well, and declares his plan to seize control of the Venom gang to recover his money. The scene shifts to Pooky entering an opulent, extravagantly decorated room. He's greeted warmly by a polished and affluent man, who offers him the services of a hostess. It becomes clear that this man owns the luxurious hotel they're in. Meanwhile, in a room nearby, Pooky lies passed out. At the same time, a hostess is seen walking down a hallway, leading three gangsters to their destination. Suddenly, Pooky is jolted awake by a woman urgently warning him that the police are swarming the hotel and that he needs to leave immediately. Groggy and disoriented, Pooky glances at his phone, noticing a string of missed calls from his subordinate. Pulling himself together, he steps out of the room only to run straight into his subordinate. Unfazed, Pooky quickly improvises, turning the tables on his subordinate by scolding him for being late. Without missing a beat, he directs his attention to the shaken madam, gently asking about the incident. She explains that the gangsters had attempted to harass one of the hostesses, but the courageous manager stepped in and publicly humiliated them. Humiliated and enraged, the gangsters responded with brutal violence. As Pooky continues his interrogation, the hotel owner, Wang, interrupts. Wang insists on handling the matter personally, but Pooky isn't one to back down. He sharply warns Wang that if anything shady happens, he will intervene. With that, he storms out, leaving a tense atmosphere behind. Shortly after, Wang summons his burly bodyguard, instructing him to look into the incident discreetly. Meanwhile, across the city, Chen and his thugs are seen celebrating their newfound wealth after looting the Venom gang. Despite their success, Chen remains dissatisfied, declaring that the money isn't enough. He turns his ire on one of the Venom gang members, threatening him and escalating his cruelty to force more cash flow. Back at the hotel case, the investigation continues. He's speaking with his junior officer when his captain slams down CCTV footage in front of Pooky, pointing to a suspicious figure in the frame. Pooky, caught off guard, awkwardly denies being the person in question, claiming he wasn't wearing the same clothes. Still, Pooky doesn't lose focus. He notices the gangsters involved in the attack appear in the footage, but their faces are conveniently obscured. Frustrated, he decides to escalate his approach. He tracks down gang leader Yi-Soo and confronts him about the men. Yi-Soo, with a calm demeanor, denies knowing anything, leaving Pooky no choice but to rely on his network of informants to dig deeper into the mystery. The informants share critical information. The Venom gang's leader has been replaced, signaling a shift in power. Meanwhile, the police come across a disturbing scene. A bag containing what appears to be remains with a distinctive tattoo. A subordinate identifies the tattoo, linking it to a Venom gang member. The search leads to a garbage truck nearby. Upon further inspection, the team uncovers more evidence. One of the junior officers, encountering this for the first time, is visibly unsettled by the situation. Elsewhere, Chen and his group arrive at a gaming arcade in the Isu gang's territory, aiming to assert their influence. They accuse the arcade of rigging machines, causing tensions to rise. When questioned by an Isu gang member, Chen confidently demands a meeting with their leader. Yi-Soo arrives with his men and confronts Chen, who calmly warns him that while he won't touch Yi-Soo's money, he will take over his arcade. Meanwhile, in the background, Scum 1 is seen beating an Isu gang member, further fueling Yi-Soo's anger. Chen coldly tells Yi-Soo not to move if he values his life. With no choice, Yi-Soo retreats with his men. On the police side, the doctor finishes the post-mortem on the mutilated body, but reports that some parts are still unaccounted for. Even the doctor is shocked by the extreme brutality of the crime. The police captain, concerned that this gruesome case could jeopardize his upcoming promotion, puts intense pressure on Pooky to deliver results quickly. Meanwhile, Chen's gang becomes increasingly brazen, extorting local shopkeepers with outrageously high protection fees. When one shopkeeper refuses to pay, Scum 1 tickles his hand with a knife, then mockingly and politely asks for the money again. Chen is later seen relaxing at Song-woo's cafe, a former cowardly gang member who has now become one of Chen's underlings. Chen leisurely counts his money and hands some to Song-woo, acknowledging his hard work. Before leaving, Song-woo casually tells Soo's wife, who works at the cafe, to come home after closing. When Chen asks for a beer, the woman nervously declines, explaining they're closed. Unbothered, Chen pins her down and begins harassing her. Outside, Song-woo overhears everything but stays frozen, paralyzed by fear and helplessness. The scene shifts to a restaurant where the police are having a meal. Suddenly, Chen and his two goons enter, causing a commotion. Pooky immediately recognizes them and quietly warns his team to act naturally and not draw attention. Despite this, their behavior inadvertently gives them away as cops. Chen quickly picks up on the tension and excuses himself to head to the restroom, with a junior officer discreetly following him. Instead of going to the restroom, Chen diverts to the kitchen, where he spots a pot of boiling oil. Meanwhile, Pooky devises a plan to trap them, instructing his team to distract the gang and block the exits. Back in the kitchen, Chen takes the pot of scalding oil and throws it at the junior officer, creating chaos. In the ensuing commotion, Chen and his goons manage to slip away. One subordinate attempts to chase after them, but loses their trail. The team quickly calls for an ambulance, as the injured junior officer suffers severe burns from the boiling oil. On the other hand, Sung-woo, frustrated and unable to stand up to Chen, begins venting his anger in a heated argument with his wife. Summoning her courage, she grabs a knife and firmly warns him to back off and calm down. Their tense exchange is interrupted by a loud knocking on the door. Angered, Sung-woo rushes to confront the person outside, assuming it's a neighbor. However, it turns out to be Wang's men. They forcefully grab him and take him away for questioning. Later, Sung-woo finds himself at Wang's hideout, where they press him for information about Chen's whereabouts. Mr. Huang ridicules him for his lack of courage and inability to take control of his situation. Determined to prove himself, Sung-woo declares that he will take matters into his own hands and deal with Chen personally. Meanwhile, Pooky visits his junior in the hospital following the oil incident. Bringing along gifts, he reassures the junior's fiancée that the department will cover all hospital expenses. Pooky encourages his junior to recover quickly and rejoin the team, but the junior hesitates, expressing a desire to transfer to the information department. Understanding his concerns, Pooky promises to help with the transfer and urges him to focus on getting better. The scene then shifts to a casino where a man is cashing out his winnings. Out of nowhere, a car crashes through the wall, and members of the ISU gang storm in, causing mayhem and attacking patrons. Scum 1 and Scum 2 arrive at the scene. They rough up the supervisor and confirm it's the work of the ISU gang. The two give chase but are lured into an alleyway, where they're ambushed and surrounded by ISU gang members. A fight erupts. Just in time, Pooky arrives on the scene, warning the ISU gang to back off. He brings up the cafe incident as a reminder of their earlier behavior, which escalates tensions and leads to another brawl. Pooky faces off against Scum 1, skillfully evading knife attacks and overpowering him with sheer strength, ultimately subduing him. Meanwhile, Scum 2 manages to escape the scene and later calls Chen, apologizing for the chaos and blaming the ISU gang. Chen, taken aback, is visibly shaken by the turn of events. Pooky interrogates Scum 1 with the help of a translator for the Chinese-Korean suspect. Scum 1 remains uncooperative, continuously cursing and demanding a lawyer. Frustrated, Pooky ends the session with the translator and tries to assert more authority in his questioning. Despite the tension, Scum 1 resists any cooperation. At one point, when Scum 1 appears to act irrationally and potentially harm himself, Pooky intervenes, ensuring the situation doesn't escalate further. Elsewhere, the ISO gang is seen celebrating at a party palace. Suddenly, a mysterious man enters, exchanges a brief smile with Jang Isu, and releases a fire extinguisher, causing panic. Chaos erupts as a fight breaks out, forcing civilians to flee. In the midst of the confusion, Chen gets dangerously close to overpowering Isu, but ultimately falls short. The incident quickly becomes breaking news. And Pooky's captain grows increasingly frustrated with the lack of progress, concerned about its impact on his professional record and potential promotion. Pooky steps in to reassure him, calmly explaining that the team is working diligently and results will follow soon. Just as tensions ease, a junior officer arrives to inform them that the police chief has requested their presence. At the chief's office, a representative from the homicide department demands custody of Scum 1, citing his criminal activities in China. They reveal that Jiang Chen was part of a massive 300-member gang back in China and fled the country after his boss was sentenced to death. The chief initially agrees to transfer the case to the homicide team. However, Pooky steps in with a well-argued defense, highlighting the progress their team has already made, including plans to apprehend 25 suspects and the scope of the investigation involving over 30 gang members. His reasoning persuades the chief to let the detectives continue their investigation. Meanwhile, Chen meets with real estate tycoons to discuss plans to clear a building occupied by the hotel owner. While dining on prawns, Boss Huang's men launch an attack. Scum-2 buys time for Chen to escape, but gets injured in the process. As they flee with Sung-woo, it is revealed that Sung-woo had intended to betray Chen. However, Chen manages to avoid Sung-woo's attack and ultimately takes him down instead. Pooky, upon hearing about the commotion, decides to confront Huang. However, Huang's imposing henchman is on his way. Pooky, displaying his formidable strength, takes him down and proceeds to meet with Huang. Huang requests more men, but Pooky warns him that the situation is too dangerous. Concerned for his friend's safety, Pooky gives Huang a stab-proof vest as a precaution. Meanwhile, Chen is at Sung's cafe, questioning Sung's wife. She admits she only knows about Huang and mentions that his men came by after an argument. At the same time, all the civilians, restaurant and shop owners, are gathered in a hall for a discussion. Acting as a mediator, Pooky asks the civilians to cooperate in catching the thugs causing trouble. He encourages them to take photos of anyone demanding money. A young boy from the restaurant motivates the civilians to step up, and the operation begins. Chen, still preoccupied with Boss Huang, is waiting for updates about him. Scum-2 is tasked with gathering information, but progress is slow due to Sung's death. Frustrated, Chen pressures Scum-2 to speed things up. Meanwhile, thugs continue to extort money from the civilians. At this point, two operations are unfolding simultaneously, one led by Chen and the other by Pooky. Civilians are photographing the thugs extorting money, steadily collecting evidence. Pooky learns that around 16 individuals are involved in the extortion racket. Determined, Pooky confronts the chief, insisting they apprehend all of them in a single day. Although it seems impossible since some might escape, Pooky has a clever plan in mind. Just then, an intelligence officer informs Pooky that Chinese and homicide police will arrive in a week to take Scum-1. This leaves Pooky worried about losing control of the case. As it happens, Scum-1 is escorted by two Chinese officers to the airport. Along the way, it's revealed that these officers are corrupt, planning to sell drugs seized from another group. Sensing an opportunity, Scum-1 negotiates with them, offering his help in exchange for his release. Intrigued by the idea of finding a distributor, they hand him a sample. Upon arriving at the airport, they let Scum-1 go. But unbeknownst to him, this was all part of Pooky's plan. The two officers are actually informants disguised as cops, and Scum-1's release was carefully orchestrated by Pooky. Later, Scum-1 reconnects with Chen, where Scum-2 recounts the events to him. Chen grows suspicious, finding the coincidences unsettling, and wonders if Scum-1 has betrayed them. He orders Scum-2 to deal with Scum-1, but before anything happens, Scum-1 confidently hands over the sample. The determination in Scum-1's demeanor convinces Chen to trust him, at least for the time being. Meanwhile, Pooky is busy finalizing preparations for the sting operation and ensuring his team is ready. Just then, his phone rings. It's Scum-1 confirming the meeting. The meeting is set in a bar room tucked away in an alleyway, making escape nearly impossible. Pooky arrives early to set up the trap, though some of the targets are still scattered, which his juniors work on handling. As Chen, accompanied by 10 of his men, approaches the bar, the cops quietly take their positions. When the door to the meeting room opens, Pooky's team storms in, ready to confront Scum-1 and his group. However, Chen is nowhere to be found. It's then revealed that Chen and his men have headed to Huang's hotel instead. Seeking vengeance for their previous encounter, Chen leads a surprise attack on Boss Huang and his men. Chaos erupts as Chen's group engages in a fierce clash with Huang's bodyguards, throwing the hotel into turmoil. Amid the commotion, Huang confronts an attacker who tries to strike him with a knife. Luckily, Huang is protected by the stab-proof vest Pooky gave him, and the attack is ineffective. Chen notices Huang and moves toward him, prompting Huang to flee. A chase ensues, with Huang heading toward the police station. Chen catches up to him and attempts to overpower Huang, but Huang uses his training to fend him off and disarm him. Just as the police officers arrive on the scene, Chen decides to retreat. Pooky's junior notices Chen fleeing and immediately begins to follow him. On Pooky's side, he grows increasingly frustrated by Chen's absence until his junior calls to inform him of Chen's location. Meanwhile, Scum-2 warns Chen about the unfolding situation. Chen grabs his passport and cash before leaving his hideout, but quickly notices something off about the environment. He spots Pooky's junior trailing him. Chen tries to run him over with his car, but Pooky intervenes just in time, ramming his vehicle into Chen's. Chaos ensues as a fight breaks out. Pooky takes on Scum too, while the junior struggles against Chen, who overpowers him. Just as the situation grows dire, police reinforcements arrive, forcing Chen to flee toward a busy market. Chen slips into a restaurant, coincidentally the one where the young boy works. He calmly orders a glass of water and tries to make a call. He notices a notebook left on the counter with photos of his gang members. It dawns on him that the shopkeepers and vendors have been working with Pooky all along. Feeling cornered, Chen confronts the old restaurant owner as the young boy hides in fear, frantically trying to call Pooky, though his line is busy. The scene cuts to Pooky arriving at the market. Sensing the tension in the air, he enters the restaurant. The scene reveals the aftermath of Chen's rampage. The kid, Wong, and the old man lie badly injured in the restaurant. Pooky immediately calls for an ambulance and stays with them. Through labored breaths, Wong tells Pooky that Chen is planning to flee to China. Determined to stop him, Pooky springs into action. In a different scene, Wong's men are attacking the contractor who hired Chen for the building clearance. Chen meets with the contractor in a car, I have no idea how, receives a check, and flees toward the airport. At the airport, Chen makes a quick stop in the washroom to change his appearance. But as he steps out, he is startled to find Pooky standing right there, waiting for him. A tense moment passes before Chen, filled with rage and desperation, launches an attack on Pooky. Despite his ferocity, Chen is unarmed and no match for Pooky's strength and experience. Pooky easily overpowers Chen, grabbing him by the throat with one hand and tossing him across the room with little effort. Desperate and enraged, Chen scrambles to his feet and spots a shard of broken glass on the ground, wielding it like a makeshift knife in a last-ditch attempt to fight back. Pooky pins it down and attempts to unhandle it. In defense, Chen pokes Pooky in the biceps. Pooky breaks the left locomotor, disarming the right one. He then grabs the broken part and cuffs it to a railing. Chen, screaming in pain, still abusing, but Pooky silences him with a brutal KO. Pooky quickly leaves the scene, leaving Chang in his defeated state. Just as Pooky exits, the captain arrives, greeted by airport staff for the compensation process. He calls Huang to check if he's taken his revenge. Pooky leaves the area in his signature style. Meanwhile, in the police station, we see that the junior, who had previously left, has returned with high hopes. In the final moments, the captain gives a cool interview to the press about the case. Pooky and his junior are seen scouting the market, and Pooky treats his junior at the same restaurant run by the young kid.